Hey, here I am on my driveway. Truth be known, I've spent a lot of time on this driveway in the last few weeks. So I'm going to start this story with something that happened this morning. My daughter's unwell. I'll often not really panic when the children are unwell, and we generally treat them from home. But my daughter's had a high fever and she's come up with a rash all over her torso. And so I called the doctors and tried to get her booked in for an appointment, and they asked me to do a RATS test before we got there, and I said no. And I was met with, their protocols and how they won't see my daughter unless she's RAT tested, and I told them to fuck off. I guess that's why my story starts 3 years ago. COVID stirred this awakening of just how important freedom and liberation is, The idea back then, of my children losing their autonomy, losing their ability to choose anything really, especially to do with their body and their what they put in their body. I began to fight quite hard for their rights. Obviously I'm unvaccinated, they're unvaccinated. We experienced here in New Zealand this insane classism, I guess it almost was, of having that status put us over there. It began to create quite deep cracks in my marriage because my husband didn't really see what I was seeing. And you're there kind of, like your reality starts dissolving, right? It's like all of the things that you know and you do, and suddenly they're different and you can't do them, and you're being seen a certain way for having certain, desires, I guess, values. I guess that began this deep journey of awakening. 2021 I lost my dog, and that journey started to go a lot deeper, in the sense of realizing that sometimes, all times, to live through what you start to know about yourself in terms of those values, in terms of those desires, in terms of your truth. A lot in your reality starts to, I guess, dissolve away. It's all coming from the beliefs that you have. And so 2021 was this journey of really starting to align myself to this place of truth. I'm not sure I can do this. Part of this was remembering that my purpose goes way back into past lives. So as I began to walk forward more in my truth with this message of awakened wealth, we can strive to have this beautiful abundance because we awaken to this grid that we have created, this matrix that we have created, these beliefs that we hold. We can dissolve them, and wealth will come from that. And this stirred these memories from ancient Egypt, leading in this beautiful way, in this beautiful reality, supported by this infinitely golden sun, actually, that just poured infinitely onto all people, and all people's cups overflowed with their joy and their passion. And the power was in the hands of those people, right? In the knowing and the trusting that abundance is infinite, that we all can open our hearts to this overflowing sun and constantly thrive. And yet, in ancient Egypt, it didn't carry on like this. It was the beginning of leadership like we have today, where that trust and that knowing isn't there. The beginning of controlling power from a place of scarcity instead of abundance. One of the big journeys of this year, 2023, has been realizing that I also can't control these things in our reality, because we all have our own path of experience and growth. I can only love unconditionally, which kind of tied into this remembering as part of this ancient Egypt memory, remembering the power of what I guess is known as your sexual energy. Now, this for me has led down quite a deep path of realizing how much our sacred sexuality has been part of the fear, the manipulation, the control, and that's both men and women, right? If you think of this infinitely giving sun, if you think of us human beings as these beautiful flowers that can open our heart and infinitely receive and be in the circulation of the natural order of life, the sexual energy is infinitely powerful, right? What I realized and what I remembered was how this was also cut off. And I saw in my past life how there is so much fear around the power of this energy, the power of us in our natural form, when you can simply be, love's presence in the moment, in the now. It is so damn powerful. That is where we're manifesting from. When you think about how you manifest from the good feelings, this is the deepest good feelings, right? This is your ecstasy, this is your bliss. But what I remembered from ancient Egypt was the stripping back of this power, the beginnings of hiding, shaming sexual energy, shaming sex, shaming women. In the last 7 weeks, my marriage has ended. And shame's a big part of that, not being able to come to a place of equality or understanding around what I feel. I'm feeling shame, for those values. Feeling shame for who I am. And I guess over the last 7 weeks, I realized just how many masks I've been wearing to hide from that shame, to be the person that your significant other still sees you as. Because, we married each other, we were in love and happy for a long time, but I didn't know myself then as I know myself now. And to really step into your truth, I think shame is something that we have to connect with. And I think for me, realizing the shame connected to sex and my sexuality has been huge. The trauma I've got related to sex and sexuality is huge. I've been on this journey to heal it, dropping down through fear after fear after fear after fear after fear to find truly who I am beyond that, because the gift of our fears is that this whole other reality lives beyond it. And the thing that really started to resonate or show up as in feeling familiar was the way that, just like with sex, it's very much like we saw in COVID, shaming you for, just being who you are and expressing through that. When I think about how I have expressed through COVID and the lockdowns and the mandates, it's been through love's presence, love for my children, love for their possibility, love for their autonomy, love, so much fucking love. You know, I got pushed out of society for that. And that's what has happened with sex as well. There's just been so much fucking shame related to something that is so deeply sacred. Your sexuality is sacred. It is your connection to the divine. It is your pillar between heaven and earth. When you feel into that bliss, the bliss of sexual feelings, the fire that burns within your passion, we create from that passion, right? We create from that fire. The Kundalini awakening, it's burning through all of these fucking limiting beliefs and fears that we hold, activating the light body. Can you see how it would make sense that this ancient power would be made to seem so shameful so that we fear it? And it feels like this is something that has to stop, but I no longer feel like I did in 2020, even 2021, when I was fighting for things to be different. We don't have to fight for things to be different. We don't have to force or control anything on the outside of us. We have to realize that actually none of that matters. It's all a fucking illusion. It's all coming from us. And the power is to go within. When you have stuff going on in your outer reality, when things make you feel uncomfortable, again, out on this driveway where I've sat and meditated for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours over the last few weeks, because in there doesn't feel like home anymore. Those feelings are so powerful. They are such gifts. All the shit that's going on, all the shit that you see, if you can be in complete allowing and acceptance, you know, being on the phone this morning, hearing those words, "We won't treat your daughter," instead of feeling angry, instead of wanting to fight, I hung the phone up and I allowed it to be what it is. This doctor's practice is going through their own experience of life and growth. And the most powerful thing that I can do is to keep deepening more into my own love, my own truth, the vibration of truth. It will shift the fucking planet. It will create the most beautiful new earth for our children. That post that I did maybe a week ago, where I said that people, you know, were using the excuse of not being able to afford the retreat I'm hosting because they're lacking self-worth. I still stand by that. I wasn't saying that everybody should come to the retreat and it's right for everyone. What I was saying was, for the people I spoke to and for the people I was referring to, people who I know deeply, and many of them actually reached out to me from that post and agreed, it is to do with your worthiness. Power, there's just so much power within. The only way that you can get to it is to really believe your worthiness to receive. One of the visions I had as part of the ancient Egypt remembering was this infinitely burning golden sun, pouring this beautiful golden light into this chalice that was just infinitely overflowing. And where I'd seen myself after I had been basically mutilated and left in a desert to die for leading in the way that I was leading, with the power in the hands of the people, with the people living through their love, through their passion, in this infinite circulation. I saw myself holding this fucking chalice, begging for water to stay alive. You know, dragged down to that point of believing as well that this beautiful infinite abundance can run out when it can't. Our battle is against this, our mind, and all the shit that it knows, to cut through all of that illusion, to find the truth, and to reconnect to source within. You are that sun. It makes me smile now about climate change, feeling, you know, like that's again just another hate on something that is so fucking infinitely abundant. And this, talking like this, is where I was made to feel like I was losing my mind, like I was in some sort of insanity and mad, like my mum. And the thing is, I know that that's not true. And in the last few months, I've really been remembering all true parts of myself and freeing all parts of myself into love. That beautiful sexual energy has been used through the ages for divination to reach those peaks of ecstasy and bliss where you actually receive divine downloads that are, you know, mind-blowing. And yet sex has been put in this dirty box. I thought back about my own experience with sex, how I learned about it, how I experienced it, and I felt so sad. You know, learning sex education at school as, if you don't want to create a baby, then wrap it, because there's all these dirty diseases that you get. Nobody ever talked about love or power or, you know, and then I think about how I experienced sex with boyfriends, wanting to be loved. I mean, it's nuts. Being raped, I guess from there really fearing sex, fearing the power of a man, the potential overpower of a man, and forgetting my own power in that. I could be the one that rapes. But it comes down to those choices and those values, doesn't it? It comes down to knowing who you are and expressing through love, channeling that power in ways that does not hurt or harm intentionally. But I think the thing with this spiritual path, this spiritual warriorship, we may not have guns and swords and bombs, but we will still hurt because we're raising consciousness, and that will trigger people. I realise I've gone deep. I would love to know your thoughts. I would love to know your experiences. I would love to know what makes you feel shameful for being who you are and how you think that is affecting your leadership, because this is about leadership. And what I realised this morning in my meditation was so fucking beautiful. You know, like remembering just the power of love, right? To love, to feel that feeling of love, because that feeling will set you free from everything. As a leader, I am going to lean even more deeply into reminding people that their awakened wealth is not about their business strategy. It is about this. It is about you. It is about your fucking truth, your radical expression, your healing, and sexual fucking energy has got a whole load of shit to do. I'm living out the consequences right now for my choices on a deep level, but I wouldn't make them any differently. I'm so happy to know who I am again. I guess you're going to be seeing some changes in my content as I lean more into the journey that I've really been on, the journey that I've been hiding, especially for the last 12 months. My shamanic journey, my journey of sexual alchemy, sexual shamanism, sacred sexuality, the truth of manifestation, without the shame, without the fear of judgment, without a fear of loss. I would love to read your comments. I welcome virtual hugs. I am a bit emotional. I am okay. My children are okay. And I'm sending you lots of love.